in competition with me. Don't do it. Don't do it. You've got to be in a collaborative frame, okay? So this is a video where I'm going to be explaining to you the most important lesson that I got in my 20s, and that is the competitive versus collaborative frame. It is the lesson between being the small, isolated little island that has to compete against foreign enemies versus becoming one with the world around you and merging into it. Now, as I sit here, I'm sitting in front of an apartment where I lived for 3 or 4 years. It's this apartment right back there. It's here in Waikiki, Hawaii. And if you look at it, it's pretty awesome. I just had to share. Basically, you've got the balcony where the bed is sitting there behind a metal wall. And what you can do is you can actually retract the metal wall and you're sitting on the balcony. So in this place that we're sitting here shooting this, I had this epiphany because what happened to me was all through my teenage years and my early 20s, I was trying to build a great life. And I worked and I worked and I worked. I built a brand. I was known as a dating teacher and I had a reputation and whatnot. Worked so hard to build it. It was crazy how hard I worked to build my reputation, my brand, my lifestyle. And so I'm living here on the beach with a great girl every day, having a wild time, hooking up on the balcony in front of the ocean. There's fireworks out here, go to 5-star dinners, and I would just work on my business and come out here, right here in the ocean, and I would do a little bit of bodyboarding and take a swim. My life was really good. But what was funny was, even though I'd achieved a life that was so amazing, and really what I thought was everything that I dreamed about as far as a great life, I still felt the exact same as if I didn't have an awesome girlfriend, as if I didn't know how to go out and meet new people, as if I wasn't making money. I really felt the same as if I didn't live in Hawaii. So externally, my circumstance was amazing. I'd achieved what I thought was needed to have what I'd call a great life and be happy. But internally, I was still miserable. And funny enough, you'll laugh at this, but I would sit right out on these waves here, and you can see there's a bit of surfers out there. You know, sometimes the waves are better than others. And I'd be bodyboarding in, looking at my apartment, and I could feel this kind of underlying ill ease in my body. And I think to myself as I'm bodyboarding in, I'm bodyboarding on a wave in Hawaii. I have money. I have a great girlfriend. We hook up on the balcony every night. I eat at 5-star dinners. I go hiking. Why do I feel the same? I'm going crazy. And funny enough, Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of Now. And he says that there's 2 things in life that make you miserable. One is not getting what you want, but the other is actually, funny enough, can you guess it? It's getting what you want. Because when you don't have what you want, you always think, well, maybe someday it could be better. But when you get what you want and you realize you don't feel any different, it's almost like you have no hope. So I started feeling at one point like, I don't even know if I have any hope to feel better. Made me feel insane. So what wound up happening was that pressure that was in me kept building and building and building. And it was like a vice grip because my life was amazing, but there was things going on in my life at that point too, where I was getting negative media and I wasn't being represented in a way that I thought was fair, what I really do. And it was driving me crazy because my life's great, everything's perfect, but I'm not getting the approval I want. And maybe if I could just get the approval that I want, finally I could feel good. Maybe that's what would fix it. And as that pressure kept building and building and building, I had this really wild experience, which if you look it up in spiritual growth, you can Google this. It's called a Satori experience. And I'm embarrassed to say this. Whenever I say Satori experience, it's very self-indulgent. Like, I had a Satori experience. And you know who did it? You didn't. So listen to me. And that's not a frame I'm trying to come from, but it is my story and it was how I experienced it. So I want to share it with you so you can learn something, maybe you find it interesting. So basically what happened was I was so trapped in my head and miserable, and all of a sudden for 3 or 4 days, the inner dialogue just shut off. And I was present to the moment. I could feel the environment. I could look at people and feel their insecurity, feel their pain, and I would look at them and just think, it's all gonna be okay. We're all one. And it wasn't even a thought, it was actually an awareness that I had. It was very angelic and surreal. And funny enough, after 4 days or so of that, I went into this negative spiral. I got sick, I felt miserable. It was like demons were coming at me. It was kind of like what goes up must come down. But what I learned in that moment, that it was almost like a psychedelic experience, was that by a way of looking at it, we are all one. But of course, that's weird because we are in a competitive reality. Everybody, you know, the fish are eating each other and animals are eating each other and businesses are competing and we compete for mates. Very real. I mean, we live in the most, by a way of looking at it, the most hyper-competitive dog-eat-dog world we could live in. But then there's almost this other paradigm energetically where we all come from source and we will all return to source. And again, this is very abstract, and we're going to explain it in this video, so just bear with me, even if you're sitting here going, okay, come on, man, whatever, I get it. I would have thought the same thing, so please bear with me and at least give it a chance to hit home, and if it doesn't, maybe plant a seed for later, or maybe it doesn't matter. We'll do another video for you, okay, about how to grind it out. We'll like that too. But really what we have is a situation in life where there's a physical world that's very, very competitive, but there's also an energetic world that we can draw from where it's collaborative. And funny enough, in the competitive world, we make things hard, we make them difficult, and we come up with tactics and methods to deal with that difficulty, which is actually very cool. I love that stuff. I love talking about it. But there's also an energetic world where things can be easy, where we can come from a different paradigm, where we require less effort, we don't need to do as much. And that was that Satori experience that I had. Again, here in Hawaii, life so perfect, life amazing. Like, you know, I mean, maybe you don't think it's that cool, but for me, it was like the coolest thing. Thought I had what I wanted and getting miserable and then snapping out of it and joining into that oneness, into that collaborative frame. And these weird epiphanies that I had as I kind of went to the other side, I want to bring them back here to you. And the practical side, as far as your dating life, socializing, networking, making friends, is that you could be so effective. There will be so much vitality and power coming through you. Thinking of the right thing to say, or joking around, or having stories, or sharing, or being completely socially calibrated will become so easy, because what's going to happen is we're going to take all the mental and emotional capital and bandwidth that's stuck in your head right now, try to maintain yourself in the hostile world, and we're going to put that into your environment and allow you to feel what's happening and respond so quickly and easily, so naturally, so grounded. You're going to love it. So what we're going to do right now is just going to walk here in Sunset as the sun goes down. It'll get dark eventually here in Waikiki. And what we're going to do is break down this collaborative frame so you can bring this in your life. And funny enough, even though you won't care about results, you're going to get way, way better results. So let's do it. Thinking, listen, Owen, we don't live in some fairy world where people collaborate with each other, and I want to address that. I come from a fairly interesting background myself, and when you hear me say the word interesting, if you're someone who also comes from an interesting background, you know what I mean by interesting. So if you've seen a lot of interesting things and you realize that the world can be a little bit crazy, then you know that any idea at a surface level of we're all one is complete and utter BS. You understand that people can lie. You understand that people compete. You understand the world is very harsh. I mean, look, all you've got to do is look at any nature documentary. All the animals are eating each other, and human beings, we're almost even more scandalous than that, because we'll lie about it and completely rationalize very, very sketchy behavior. People are generally attracted to the best mate they can get. It's highly competitive. So now all of a sudden I come in here and say, there's a collaborative world, an energetic world. Right, it basically looks like wild delusion, and like somebody's probably taken some weird hallucinogen and brought back this kind of, you know, their brain neurochemistry got altered by some altered state, and they're basically disconnected from reality. So if you're not having that thought, I would actually wonder why not, because I think you should have that thought. But what I'm going to present here is some basic evidence of what will change when you kind of tap into this collaborative frame. And I want to be very practical here. I want to show how this changes in a practical sense, really how this will change your entire life. So I'm going to start off by explaining how I used to feel when I go into, say, a nightclub. And I'd walk into a nightclub, I'd see everybody there, and immediately I would feel hostility. I would feel that if I walk up to someone who I want to date, someone who attracts me, that in my mind at that time, you know, thank God I don't feel like this now, but at that time back then, I'd feel like it was me against them. I'd feel like I'm going to go in there, they're going to test me, and I've got to power through the tests and be the champion and go home. And that was some kind of win, right? That was me being a champion, me stepping up. And of course, it's natural to feel that way. Again, I'd feel like that. But look at the weird space I'm coming from. I'd see other guys in that venue. I'd view them as competition. I'd be nervous around them. And the only way that I'd feel safe is if I could get them into my frame, if I could kind of psychologically dominate them, put them in my frame. Or the only way I felt safe with a girl is if she would be attracted to me. I won her over it and got her to be into my kind of frame of reality that I'm awesome, I'm the prize, and then I felt okay. But what was happening here is that I'm reaching energetically. Whenever I'm talking to people, I'm not feeling good in myself, and I'm needing them to respond the way that I want. And there's a density and forcefulness to my energy that is actually pushing people away. High-level people are being put off from this. Now, within that paradigm of me being competitive, it got to a point where if a guy messed with me, I'd have a million different lines. I called them AMOG lines back then. Funny enough, if you ever read the book The Game by Neil Strauss, he would talk about my AMOG tactics that he put in there, where the things that I wrote, but he included in his book. And the idea was that if another guy came, I might say, you know, you're cool, bro. Stop trying so hard, or things like that. I would try to kind of outframe him. And then I'd shut him down, and then I'd be in the victorious position. Or I talk a lot about passing tests. A girl might test me, and how I would say, you know, say she said, you're a jerk. I'm like, what do you like about that? And then I would put her back in my frame. All these things are pretty cool. I like these things. And I actually think that if you're new and you're kind of meek and weak and pathetic, and then you try these things, they're very cool. It's a lot of fun to try that stuff. A lot of those kind of tactics are crazy fun to try, because if you've been kind of in the beta position, the weak position for most of your life, it's fun to actually kind of compete and get in there and try it. And that was why I enjoyed it so much and got results from it, got great results socially, dating-wise. But I realized over time there's actually another level to it. Because the underlying issue there, like I mentioned earlier, is that as you're getting better and better in this competitive world, you're further entrenching yourself in this kind of you against them mindset. And you're having to continually compensate and deal with this heavy world and having to structure everything to kind of cope with it. Now, I want you to compare that to where I come from now, where ideally, and not always, by the way, I have my moments. I have some very low moments, to be fair. But generally, where I'm coming from more frequently, which is beautiful and a lot more fun and gets really a lot better results, is that I walk in that venue viewing everybody as my friend. There's what's called an assumed familiarity with the venue. Now, for that reason, if I walk up to someone who I'm attracted to, I'm not putting up a wall. I'm not feeding reactive energy into that interaction. I'm coming up as if we've already known each other for years. So you're not coming into that interaction feeding it with reactive energy. See, the problem is with the competitive frame is you don't know it. You're completely blind to this, but you're feeding reactive energy and defensive energy and this sort of energetic wall that you're building between you and the person who you like. Or maybe the guy who you're talking to, who you feel like you're competing with, you're feeding reactive energy into it. What'll happen instead, which is really wild, is that you'll wind up creating attraction from a different paradigm. And here's what it is. You will be so relaxed, so much assuming familiarity, so much indifferent, that if you get it, first of all, you're going to generate less tests. That person you're attracted to is going to be less likely to test you in the first place. And the guys are also going to be a lot less likely to mess with you as well, right? They're just a lot less likely to, because it's like you're already their friend. And what's funny is there's an assumed status in this collaborative frame that is so strong and so grounded that, and this is what's funny, you'll laugh at this, it almost makes everybody else look ridiculous and stupid. But you're not trying to make them look stupid, you're actually trying to pull them up. But inherent in trying to pull them up is that you're the person of higher status. Now, the problem is when I say this, now you're gonna go, the competitive part of you is gonna go, ooh, I can compete more by looking collaborative. I can look like I just think everyone's my friend. And then I can get what I want, like the golem, I can get the precious. And that's gonna mean that it's gonna work in spurts socially. You're gonna get these amazing responses, but then it's gonna stop working. Which of course, that defeats the whole purpose, right? The point is for it to work. So what you wanna do is get into that collaborative frame to where you're so chilled out, it's all so easy, so fun, that you're attracting through that grounding energy, that looseness, how free you are. And also what's gonna wind up happening, here's also funny, because you're not stuck in your head in competition, you're gonna be able to feel into what the other person wants more easily, and you're gonna be able to respond to them energetically a lot more easily. They might have a little reaction. Maybe they don't like what you're doing, and you're gonna adapt to it so quickly and in a way that makes them immediately at ease. And you're gonna do that because instead of your awareness being trapped in your head, you're present to the moment. You don't have your awareness trapped in your head. You're merged into the energy around you. You're merged into the world around you, and you're gonna see it and you're gonna respond beautifully. You're gonna see the energy someone needs, and you're gonna be able to feed it to them in a way that's win-win. And as a result of that, the assumed status, you're basically assuming value rather than demonstrating it. That assumed value is so strong, people feel it from you, and it just winds up that you're clearly just the best person there. But ironically, you care the least. Now, if you're somebody who's in a more competitive frame and you're struggling to let this land, which I would have, and that's why I completely empathize. Even in me saying that, you're like, are you just saying that to trick me to empathize? But really, You know what I'm saying, right? You're in this mode. So if you're dealing with that, what I'd say to you is, why don't you look at it maybe in in an evolutionary term, for example. The person who has the most cares the least. If you're dating all the most attractive people, you care the least. If you're friends with all the coolest people in your group, you care the least. So that would show status. That would subcommunicate status. So even if you want to look at it from a competitive and evolutionary frame, do it that way, and you may well still get the same result. It's just that when you're tapping into that collaborativeness, it's so natural, as opposed to kind of, looking at it a more scientific way. But it really is up to you. I'm not here to tell you how to think about it. If anything, I just want you to get the value. That's what's important to me. So we'll kind of walk into Waikiki here. It's a little bit dark out, not my favorite shooting, but we'll walk into it right now. And we'll just keep going further down this path of the way it looks in seminar, because I want you to have this powerful insight just from home. And then I'd love for you actually to come to a seminar with me, and I'll get you doing it. I'll poke at you in real life, and that's a lot of fun too. But I want you to understand this from home now, just so you can begin to get the ball rolling with this, and hopefully we can go all the way together. So it's very funny to be on the other side of the coin of this, because when you walk through life, you look at people in society and you'll see these very derpy, sleepy eyes, or you'll see these kind of hungry, needy eyes that people have, or you'll see people that are kind of hiding in their eye contact. They'll even hide behind this kind of haze of derpiness. And if I bring somebody to the front when I'm teaching a seminar, it's amazing to see how much of a defensive headspace they're in. So one exercise that I love to do is I'll say, look, you're gonna diss me and I'm gonna diss you. So I'll start dissing them and they'll start dissing me. And when I diss them, I'll see them get very reactive. And I can see that hungry, competitive look where they're not getting the food that they need right in the pupil. Meanwhile, they'll try stuff on me and I won't really have a reaction. I'm sure I will someday. I'm certain I'm not perfect with this, but the run that I'm on, I don't really feel a reaction. And what I explain to them as I do this, because I'm kind of dissing them and they'll diss me back, is the reason why they can't offend me is because I'm in a collaborative frame. I'm viewing them dissing me as being close to me. It's like busting each other's balls. It's like friends that are teasing each other to get closer together. That's how I see teasing. My view of the world is that we all need to stop taking ourselves so seriously. So what modern society does, and consumer culture, and really a lot of the political correctness that we have and whatnot, which I think can have great advantages, but there's also consequences to it, is that it gets us all against each other. It makes it where we're this kind of isolated islet, or maybe in this little group against these other little groups, or in this, against these other little isolated islands. It's just, it drives me crazy what I see, because it is so sick. It is toxic. It is sick. It's an illness that we have collectively in our society. And that collective illness is something that you have been infected with as well, as have I. Why do they do this? Well, in consumer culture, they do it to get you to buy products. They want you to compete against the Joneses so that you'll go out and buy 1 million pairs of this or that or the other thing. You have to have all these assets so that you can feel okay. In political correctness, they do it so that groups will be against each other, rather than coming together and realizing that we're all one, that we're all related. At one point, we were all related, and we're all a big family who should love each other. It's this kind of offended thing where everybody's against everybody else. And in political correctness, they don't even want to have humor, because what's the idea of humor? Humor is that we bust each other's balls, we tease each other to stop ourselves from taking each other so seriously and taking ourselves so seriously, right? So this idea that we take ourselves so seriously is we go out, we make money, we try to get status, and then if somebody offends us, it really bothers us, when really what we should think is we're all a bunch of big dorks. We're not against each other, we're all dorks that are ridiculous. We poop, we pee, we burp, we kind of stink, we smell funny at times unless we constantly shower. We're just ridiculous. I'm going bald, I have man boobs, a gut, and coming from that frame that I'm ridiculous, instead of being this all-powerful guru like what I was trying to be before, right, as I was living in Hawaii, building my empire, I'm running an empire, I'm so cool, I'm as cool as the other gurus, oh no, in the book The Game I look dumb, bad media, like looking at it like that. Instead, just viewing it like I'm a big fat dork. I'm just a playful little kid, and I hope that I've got great skills. I want to be the best speaker that I can be. I want to be powerful. I want to be effective, competent, produce results, and crush it. But I want to do that from a place of joy, knowing that I'm a big dork, you're a big dork, we're all big dorks, and we're all a family. Doesn't matter what race, what gender, whatever type of background you come from, we're all a family, and we can come together. We don't need to offend each other, but we can love each other. And so when we go into an environment, even if somebody's teasing you, you can just take it like a big joke. Of course they're joking, you're a big dork. I have had so many experiences where having a pot belly and man boobs, I'll walk up to someone I'm really attracted to. My favorite line is I'll say, I'm pregnant, and I'll reach out and say, would you like to touch? And they'll reach into my stomach, and I'll say, oh, it kicked. And I'll say, I'm lactating. I'll say, would you like to see that I'm lactating? And they'll want to see, and they'll touch my man boobs, and they'll go, oh my God, you're lactating. And they start laughing, I'm laughing, we're all big dorks together. Next thing you know, we're making out, going off on a wild, kinky adventure together, maybe here on the beach or back to their place or my place. It's way too much fun, and they're inviting me to do that, not because I'm the hottest person they've met that night, but because I take myself at least seriously, so there's no judgment regarding physical intimacy. It's like we can all just hook up. I'm not jealous, they're not jealous, everybody's fun. And all these other people that are coming up to them, trying to impress them and taking everything so seriously, they come across like losers, like low status, like they're hiding something, they're inauthentic, they're incongruent. And if they come in and try to compete, and if I try to compete back, I'm probably gonna lose because maybe that person's taller or better looking than me, more fit than me. Maybe they have abs, ooh. But if I don't care, and then they come in with their abs and their height and their jawline, and it doesn't matter to me, I'm kind of just joking with them, having fun, and as a result, energetically, the person who I'm attracted to winds up being more attracted to me because there's more energy, right? We know that when we go out, people really respond to stimulus. We know it, they go to where the energy's at. You can read the book, Levels of Energy by Frederick Dodson. We know that people are attracted to that rock concert, that crazy movie, because there's present energy there. We feed off of it, we love it. So when you have more energy moving through you, because you're in a collaborative frame, all these people come up in a competitive frame and they can't compete. I've had friends that I try to teach this to them, they won't hear it. And they're always doing their technique, and they're competing, and they want to be the best. And they'll come up with someone they just met, and I've got to actually dumb myself down, because I know that if I just even make eye contact, or if I even just talk a little bit, that this really attractive new person that they brought up to me is actually going to wind up jumping off of them and onto me. I had some experience in the past where friends of mine, I could see they're trying so hard, and I could see that hungry, needy eyes in their pupil, and I love my friends so dearly that just to try to make the point, I'll just talk a little bit and watch that person they brought just jump onto me. And I'll say, look, you gotta stop competing. Just merge into the group. Be a dork. Be a dork with me. Be a family with me. Let's love each other. I know that sounds crazy and it's idealistic. No, kumbaya, right? I get it. I've been there. Do you wanna know why I get it so much? I've gone so far down that dark path of an interesting life and that kind of interesting background. I've been down that dark path so far. It's like we're hiking in a forest together. A journey of life is like the forest. I've been down a certain path, and I come back and I'm going, that's not a good path. And you're like, I think it is. I'm like, I've been there, it's not good. But I know you just gotta go down it yourself. So if that's the case, do what I did, right? Go live on the beachfront in Hawaii, hooking up with your hot partner in front of the ocean, go to 5-star dinners, ball out, dominate, become a celebrity, do all that. And when you realize that it's no different, there's no difference, then your brain can snap and you can just have that moment of enlightenment, realize that we're all one, realize that we're all a bunch of big dorks. We can look I have this is necklace from David Yurman. It's black diamonds. Whoa! Don't you wish you had them so you could be cool? Or I can just go, and just like back around, and I can just have fun with you and be a big dork. Let's be dorks together. Let's go meet the best, most attractive people in the club and all be big dorks together and come hook up on the beach. And have no judgment at all. Let's just be ridiculous. Let's dance and be silly and have fun. And what do you think's gonna result in meeting somebody and having that escalate to you guys hooking up on the beach faster? You being all serious, I'm the dominator, I'm the cool one, I'm the best one, shut up, ah! I mean, that's probably a bad rendition of someone who's at the peak of competitiveness. I get that, right? That's not how they are. They're pretty cool, I understand, they're very cool. But from another way of looking at it, when we can all just be dorks, like, look, so I can wear out the nicest clothes to the club, and it's okay, it's cool, I look sharp, or I can go out just like I'm just having fun, and in most cases, I wind up having way more success. I've seen it where some guy from college goes out wearing a wedding dress. Now I know what you're gonna say. Is that your advice? Is that what you're saying to do? Wear a wedding dress? That's what we learned from the dating advice guy? Okay, it's nuanced. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that there's many examples of people who do it. You know, Dennis Rodman used to do it. And you go out, you're having the most fun, you care the least, you're not competitive, and you wind up having really great success, right? Many of the things that I'll teach you, they can be really cut out of context. Unfortunately, even in the mainstream media, by the way, loves what we teach because it's nuanced, right? So it's like clickbait heaven for the mainstream media, because if I say, oh, we do a seminar where we diss each other, they're like, is that what you do at your seminar? You diss each other, you're being critical, you could have hurt their feelings and triggered them. And it's like, it's not to trigger, I mean, actually it is trigger them, but it's to trigger them and then show them the way out of getting triggered. The way out of being triggered isn't to make it where there's no triggering content in your consciousness. The way to get out of triggering is to experience it and then realize that we're all big dorks who love each other and that we don't need to be in this competitive, hostile world. But again, what they would say is like, no, it is dark for me. You can't appreciate my dark world. And it's like, okay, you're right. I guess you're right. I never saw anything bad myself. No, I've never been through anything that was a little heavy. Only you, not me. I couldn't relate, right? Okay, so the main point being, we've all been through heavy stuff. All of us. My firstborn son, Vincent's autistic. If somebody says the word retard, do you think I go, I can't handle that? Oh my God, you said that. No, it's like, let's all be retards. Let me play with my son Vincent and Dylan and Tristan and have fun with them and play and mess around and not care. That's the answer. Not to be afraid of my consciousness being offended. And I get it that when someone is so broken, they can't handle that. They're not ready for that. And I guess that's okay too. And that's why I try my best not to hurt anybody's feelings, okay? I try my best. But if you come to me for me to teach you, and you're there, and you're paying me money, and you want me to really help you, I'm not gonna say, okay, let's make an environment where you never get a rejection, and you know how to dominate. You're the dominator. I'm not gonna teach you that. I'm gonna teach you to be a big dork, for all of us to be big dorks together, love each other, not judge each other, and to meet the best people out and to go hook up on the beach in a moment of life and fun and passion. And that is what I want for you. So what I'm saying here, this competitive versus collaborative frame, is that it winds up to where your power is magnified. There's a great book called Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Trying to dominate and be in control of everything, that's force. I hit the epitome of that. I got the beachfront apartment, the girl, the money, the 5-star, and I was still miserable because I wanted to be this perfect person, and I couldn't quite get the media and different books written about me to talk good about me, how I deserve. They don't get it. I'm out till 9 a.m. sometimes with my clients overnight, crying in their arms, helping them, but they don't want to report that. They won't report my effort, my craft, what I've given, the help that I give people, the tears of people I see on the street. They just want to take what I say out of context, say that I diss people and mess people up. Even in this video, if they were to cut it, they would cut that part and be like, look, he's admitting it. He's admitting it. And earlier he said he wants to trigger. And why can't they get it? Why can't they see how great I am, right? That's how I felt here in my mid-20s. Beautiful life, but I had 99% of the approval that I want, the life that I want, but there was that 1% left that I couldn't quite get the approval, and it just drove me crazy. And I was so close to complete and total approval, I could taste it. But then the pressure just ratcheted up and ratcheted up and ratcheted up. And what I ultimately realized was that the more approval that I got for being Tyler, ooh, Tyler, I'm Tyler, the more approval I got from that, what was I doing? I was starving that inner love for myself, that self-love, that unconditional love. All of the love was going to a persona. All of the love was going into feeding the need to get certain responses to feel okay. I would need to go into a club and have the first couple people be nice to me to even feel good in myself. And that unconditional love that comes from within, I was disconnecting from that because the more external validation I got, the closer that I got to that ultimate win, to that perfect guy that I wanted to become. The closer that I got to that, the more that my self-love, my presence, I'm a dork, you're a dork, we're all dorks, we can all hook up, we can all have adventures. That was being starved. And from that lower paradigm, it just makes so much sense that you've got to compete, because the problem is, it's true. It is a very hostile world. There's a lot of bad stuff. I might still get it thrown at me, probably will, to be fair, when you're trying to help people elevate them, there's dark forces that want to see you stop. And they're gonna, all that they can see is the negative. Even me saying this, they're like, look, he thinks it's a conspiracy, right? That's how it is. It is what it is. But, and I may bump into that. But you know what? Even then, if I were to lose the status that I built up, lost everything, that could be greater opportunity for me in my journey to say, that moment where I was a teacher or well-known or like a Z-list celebrity, that moment for me, that was cool. And now I'm ready to even go deeper within myself, maybe live a more humble life. And in that physical loss, I could gain in spirit. Maybe I would wind up meeting people and having more joy. Maybe I would walk down the street here with more of a palette for joy and perception than I ever could have had, even with my existing business or life situation. It is not about what you get out of life. It's about who you become. It's about the paradigms that you enter. And it's about having a real ability to enjoy life, not with crazy negative attacks and whatnot, but the ability to enjoy it. So many of my friends that are in that competitive frame, they wind up going home with somebody and they'll even tell me they get nothing from it because they're cut off from their joy. So it's not just about saying, oh, how many people did you go home with this year? That's just one metric. It's how much did you enjoy it? How much did you connect? How much did you live that beautiful moment? Maybe in front of the ocean, maybe in your apartment, doesn't matter where. And just suck it in and vibe out for this short little life that you have here on earth. And that's what I want for you. I want you to be so effective, but I also want you to enjoy it. So I think to wrap up, what we'll do is we'll pop over there, a little bit closer to Waikiki here in the evening, and I want to break down to you in practical terms, because it's fun to kind of get all out there, right? But I know you may be somebody who wants very practical steps. I'm going to break down to you maybe a little further in terms of practical steps, how this kind of pans out when you go out. So even though I think you've got the meta, I'd like you to be able to kind of little bites that you could sort of take off this and maybe give you somewhere to start. So let's pop over there. I'll give you a little bit more of a description of what my night is like, why I love it, why I'm so passionate, why I still do it, why I feed off of it, why it's my great joy and my great joy to share with you. I'll give you a little bit more description, and what I want to do is that in exchange for me doing that, I'm not asking for much, but I'd love for you to go out and try it. I want you to go out and stop being competitive, but still take crazy action, like so much action, okay? Crush it, but from a place of joy and just being, instead of having to crawl up the hill so hard, just jogging down the hill, just soaring down the hill, just gliding. And I want you to make a commitment to go out and at least give it a shot and maybe to make a comment about your experience with this, okay? So I'll do this for you, but in exchange for me, I want you to get this down because it's so much more important than just your results. It's also a way to contribute positivity to the world and spread joy and spread love. So I want you to commit to that. We're gonna break this down. You're gonna do it. Let's go. Okay, so what I want to do now is describe what it's like for me at this point in my life when I go out. And we want to contrast this to the past where I viewed everything as kind of scary, as this kind of weird hallucination that was frightening, that I had to power through and control everything, to what I feel now, which is the ultimate joy. For me, there's nothing that I would rather do in my life than just go out and share energy with people. I love to camp, I love going skiing, I love traveling, meditating, all of it's fun for me. But the real high for me is public speaking and going out. And the reason why is because it's funny enough, but by necessity, I'll have to go in that collaborative frame. Like in my regular life, I can kind of get all competitive and I can sort of power through it. It's not the best, it's not very fun, but I can get away with bad habits. And unfortunately, sometimes I do fall into my bad habits. But when I go out, because I know that I have no choice but to be in that collaborative frame, or if I'm doing public speaking, I know at least in 90% of the cases, I know that I don't have a choice but to be in that collaborative frame. It kind of forces me to do it. Look, I want you to think about it like physical intimacy. When being intimate with somebody else, it sort of forces you to get present, to touch, to feel, to kiss, to caress. It sort of just lends itself to you really focusing on what you're doing. Or say you go to a beautiful restaurant, right? And you're eating great food, so of course you're gonna wanna really take the time to savor it. For me, going out is something to be savored. It's something to be loved, something to enjoy. And that's why I love teaching it and going into the field and teaching it, because that's what I wanna share with somebody. Because it's almost like from my perspective, I'll go out with you and I'll see you trying to enjoy talking to people, but it's like so hard for you. Well, it's almost like we went to a restaurant together and you're afraid of the food, right? It's like you're eating the food and you're like, oh, I've got to eat it really well. And you're all stuck up in your head. I'm like, just relax, it tastes so good. You know, or if you're in intimacy with somebody and you're all caught up, like trying to figure out how to do it the right way to impress them, and like you can't even climax or finish because you're so stuck in your head. So I want to show you how to have a palate to really savor and enjoy going out. Now, the way that I think of it, like I said, the underlying frame is that everybody's my friend. And if somebody, listen, if somebody is not in that frame and they don't like me or they're rude to me, I just take it like it's like a funny part of myself that's being funny to me. It's like, that's me, we're all one. And myself, Owen, some nasty little part of myself is being nasty in this moment. It's like, you ever have a nasty thought? It's just kind of a dark thought and you're like, oh, that's a dark thought. Well, when we're all one and somebody else is being like that, I'm like, oh, I'm being crazy. And then what I do is I kind of throw back some good energy, and oftentimes it kind of cleans it up and actually helps to elevate them out of it. So just like if you had a dark thought and you just kind of elevate out of it, you can do that for other people. So I actually like it when people are a little bit dark, because then I can kind of get funny with them and take them out of it. Or if they want to get, you know, just stay there, that's okay too. I don't need to own that. I can't control anybody else. So I can offer it, make an offering, but it doesn't matter. So from there, what I do, and I think this is the key of it, is I follow that savoring. It's like when you're in intimacy with somebody physically, and there's a repetitive motion. You're touching, you're caressing, in and out, in and out, in and out, and you're just kind of getting into it, and it's kind of putting you in a trance. You're kind of following the caressing, the touching, the repetitiveness, the warmth, moisture, the polarities coming together, and you're feeling it. There's energetic beauty there. Well, I love to do the same when I'm making this video, or when I'm public speaking, or when I go out to meet people. Like when I'm public speaking or doing this video, I want to follow my joy. I want to go deeper into it with you. I want to make it compelling with you. I want to share with you. Well, the same way when I go out, I want to make the energy really clean, really beautiful, really compelling. So I kind of follow my bliss. I follow what's fun. Maybe I'm singing, dancing, joking with people. Maybe I'm silent, just feeling the energy in my own body, creating what I've called in other videos a conversational vacuum. I'm laying back, I'm taking them in, I'm listening, and it's beautiful. Now, I know what you're thinking when you hear this, because I would have thought it too. Why do I care about this? It's about getting it done. The thing is, for me, it's all intimacy. It's all the caressing, the connection. Why do I need to wait until I'm given food to stop and enjoy? Look at what you're doing to yourself here. You're putting yourself in a box where you can't enjoy something unless you beat somebody else, unless you prove yourself by getting your number up, or unless you're eating that food or you made that money. Then you're allowed to enjoy. But you can't enjoy the journey there. If you want to be rich, if you want to be successful, if you want to meet the most people and go home with them, what does it matter if you don't enjoy your life? What's the purpose of getting rich or going home with somebody? It's to enjoy it. And if you're not grooming that ability to enjoy life, even when you don't have that, first of all, that other person that you want or that money that you want, now it's controlling you. You're its slave. You want it to be not your slave, well maybe, you know, not me, but maybe you do, but you want it to serve you. You don't want to be serving it. Now I know what you're thinking. Again, you're thinking, well, then I'll get lazy. It's not about getting lazy. I'm enjoying and savoring making this video with you, but it's not depleting me of power, demotivating me. My joy to share with you is motivating me to do great for you is what I want. I want to share this with you. Well, when I go out, I want to follow my joy. I want to share my joy with other people. And so what I do is I'm joking, I'm laughing, and I'll see them getting attracted to me. Maybe I see someone who's so attractive liking me, and maybe I've never had someone with that exact, maybe that physical type be into me in that moment, and I really want it, and oh, it'd be good, you know, I feel it, right? And my mind, I'll feel my mind contract, and I go into that little tactic, how you gonna make it happen? And what's funny is, I go in that contraction, and I try to get it. I wanna pluck the fruit, and get the precious, and then I see that they get actually repulsed from it. That beautiful energy that they're drawn towards begins to push them away. And then as I say this perfect thing, maybe they laugh for a minute, it kind of worked a little bit, but then they get driven away. So what I do is, I force myself to really stay in the pocket. I stay in the pocket with that great energy that we're all friends, we're all one, we're sharing. We're all just dorks together, we're just a bunch of dorks going to hook up. And by doing that, if I keep that going, then when I say let's go to the after party or let's go to this restaurant, it's like any weirdness about that is eliminated. It's a non-judgmental zone. Very carefree, very non-judgmental. It's like you're in the foam cannon party in Cancun. You're going crazy and anything could happen. All sorts of wild, kinky adventures can happen within minutes even, and they're gonna invite you for that because there's no judgment. It's just all having fun. See, when you meet somebody and they're a little bit hesitant to maybe feel ashamed to hook up with you, they feel that shame because they feel like it's a zero-sum game, like someone's gonna win, someone's gonna lose. But when we're all dorks that can hook up together, that's way too fun, everybody's winning, and you've kind of transcended that dynamic. Or you go to talk to someone, maybe they test you, or maybe some other person's competitive with you, but you've transcended that dynamic. And even if they go into it, they actually start to look dumb funny enough, and they can feel that they look dumb. And you look at them not with any kind of powerful line that you pass the test with or get competitive with. You just kind of look at them with a little eye contact. And you just start joking around, dancing, having fun, or even in silence you could do it. You don't need to be so extroverted. You could be introverted doing this. But just like instead of the big burning brush fire, you can be the white hot searing coal, and it's just emanating from you. And in doing that, I mean, how could you resist it? How much better can life get, really? It's really living at the peak of life. And so for that reason, like we said, I want you to promise to go out, and I want you to promise to savor the night. And as you savor the night, this is what I think is gonna happen. You're gonna wind up going home with somebody, and you're just gonna be lying there with them, and you're gonna be vibing and connecting, and you're gonna feel a connection so powerful. It's such a win-win for the two of you that you're two different beings, but really you're the same. And there's a coming home that you feel together. And that chemistry is so powerful, it's so addictive, it's really irresistible. It's what creates that very seductive, powerful, beautiful energy between people. And it's like, it's not so uptight, like taking yourself so seriously. It's a little bit goofy, but not goofy because goofiness can come from two sides, right? It can come from a defensive position where you can't be real, so you're always putting up goofiness as a shell, or goofiness can be about collaboration, not taking yourself so serious and connecting. Really, you're a powerful person. You own your power. You don't need to do it. And in fact, you can be quiet and you can be comfortable in silence 1,000,000%, but little fun things will come up. And that leads to this kind of like, rather than intimacy being this kind of big deal of who's winning, it just becomes this kind of goofy fun. It happens naturally, quickly. And really it's something where after the person's saying, thank you so much, that was so beautiful. And that to me is the kind of intimacy that's worth having, where it's not about proving yourself, it's about being yourself, being in your essence, connecting, and having way too much fun. If you've ever seen the movie Avatar, directed by James Cameron, I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful depiction of this. I would encourage you to watch Avatar. Such a beautiful movie with incredible sales of it. The ticket sales now were insane. And I'd like you to watch it with a fresh set of eyes. What we saw in the movie Avatar was this tribe on another planet, and they're connected to nature. They're connected to each other. Even the way they connect, little kind of tentacle things go out, connects to nature, to each other. And they've come across that collaborative frame so beautifully. And then humans, with our dark energy and pollution, we come and we need to dominate and pollute to take. And it really is those two forces that are colliding, the collaborative energy and the competitive energy. What's gonna happen if we don't begin to diffuse this competitive energy is that we could be up on some pretty harsh times. So this is something that's gonna help you with dating, and you can practice this in your dating life. But that ability to pull people together is gonna be so important in the world itself, and you can be a part of that. See, there's a great book, it's called Reality Transurfing. It's created by this guy, Vadim something, he's Russian, Vadim Zeland or something. And it's on YouTube, actually. They do translations of it right on YouTube. You gotta listen to this. And the most important part of it, to my mind, and it's all amazing, is what he calls the pendulum, right? And there's energetic pendulums between, say, left and right, or sadly, even horrifyingly, between men and women that people are trying to push. I've seen it where I make videos, where I bring maybe other women teachers, or I bring women in the audience, or talk to women, and talk about how we need to come together. And I'll see it where people in the comments will literally be outraged or infuriated that I would even take an opinion from a woman, or they feel that the women are against them and that we're not coming together. And I get that, because we do live in a collaborative frame. We do live in a frame where you probably would like the most attractive mate you can get, and so do they. I understand that, and that can make you feel hostile. To me, when I see somebody, looking at a video that I do, or say there's a woman there and they're offended by it, to me that tells me that they've taken the bait of the mainstream media, hook, line, and sinker. You are now a slave of the mainstream media, who, while they claim that they want you to care about women, are actually trying to unconsciously make division. They don't want us to come together. So whenever you meet a woman, realize you're half woman yourself from all your descendants. You have nipples. I mean, certain parts of her like a tiny version of what you have if you're a guy watching this. And if you're a woman watching this, realize that guys, they might act weird to you if you're a woman watching this. That's because they like you. We like you. And we're nervous around you. And we get uptight. We get in that competitive frame. It's time for us to come together. We need to stop the pendulum. If you hear what I'm saying right now and it makes you angry, realize you are a sucker of the mainstream media. You are a slave and a sucker of the mainstream media. If you are needing to keep up with the Jones and dominate them, you are a sucker of corporations. You are a battery for them, not operating off your birthright and potential, but their agenda. And your life will breeze by, feeding into the agenda of large corporate entities that do not have your interest in mind. And these people that are in these entities, corporations, media, are beautiful, but they've been infected with dark energy. And by the way, they'll even quote this, like, look what he said about the dark energy. He's crazy. I know that when I make this video. Could result in unfortunate things. But I do need to share this with you. I need to get this message to you. It's urgent. So even those people that are coming from that frame, we need to embrace them. We need, instead of saying, screw them, we need to say, we love you. And you're not, they're gonna withdraw. They're gonna have a shield. No, no. But we can't feed that pendulum. We can't. We've got to stop the pendulum collectively. We've got to bring people together right now. We have too much capacity to destroy each other with modern weaponry. And with social media, there's too many disparate factions that can just keep going at each other. We need to talk. We need to ask them, what do you feel? What's a win for you? Human beings, we're a team, we're a family. How can we be dorks together? How can we love each other and come together? And I get it, that this mindset can be very destructive for people that are too dark to get it. I know those cases all too well. So I want to acknowledge that. I get it. And sometimes things are just too messed up. In that approach, you do your best, but it is what it is. But for the most part, we've got to at least start there. And we've got to not just give up if it gets a little bit hard, because this is hard. So to be one of those people, to bring that positive energy, to stop that pendulum that they talk about in reality transferring, to bring together men and women, people of all backgrounds and everything, and to date the most attractive people, to get around that weird judgment, we've got to just practice this in our regular life, just in your dating life. We've got to embody the change that we want to be in the world. And by the way, there's people who, they'll hear them saying stuff about me and they'll say, he doesn't do that at all. He's a big jerk. In my mind, I know where I'm coming from. And I know that, again, they're just trying to start up the pendulum. Okay, if you knew me, you'd have your own opinion of that. So that's what I want to share with you here today, okay? And if you don't feel that I embody it, don't, because I'll probably my image will be pulled all over the place for years. That's just how it is, right? That's okay. And maybe I'll fall on hard times someday and not even live what I'm trying to share. But don't worry about that. Just take the message if it resonates with you. It's gonna change your dating life. It's gonna change your social skills. It's gonna give you access to incredible power and potential that you don't know you have right now. And most of all, it's gonna allow you to live the life you're meant to live. You're not here to be somebody else's puppet. You're not here to be in fear. You're not here to be against people. You're here to realize your core essence, bring love, energy, and passion in the world. Come together and spread that positive vibe. So that is the message that I want to leave here with you. With my old home, right back there, I can see my old home. The place, the city in which I had those epiphanies of going to my fullest potential in the competitive frame, getting the money, the apartment, the girls, everything, getting it, and still feeling miserable and feeling that pressure mounting and mounting. I just can't control it all. I'm so close. And I could feel that presence ever since. So that's what I want to share with you. It's so beautiful. I want to share that with you today. So thanks for watching. I'll be back a lot more. I'll see you soon. Peace.